Western aid is top of mind for Ukrainian officials right now as they look anxiously at the back and forth in Washington. Portugal's Foreign Minister João Gomes Cravinho was in Kyiv for meetings with EU leaders on Monday and joins us now from Lisbon. Minister Cravinho, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us on the show this evening. As we outlined there, you were one of the many ministers in Kyiv on Monday, showing clearly your support to Ukraine and to President Zelensky. That support, as we framed that there, and as we heard from Fredlin Plyke, and coming at a critical time, what was the overarching message from that visit, sir?
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. I would say two messages, really. One, the first one, the most obvious and immediate, is a manifestation of clear solidarity with Ukraine, and of course, coupled with the notion that we are with Ukraine for as long as it takes. So that's a very clear signal that we wanted to make in what was a historic visit. This is the first time that we meet in the format of Foreign Affairs Council outside of the European Union, and without counting, of course, the multilateral frameworks. The second message is also very significant, which is that we are really a geopolitical Europe now. We have a clear notion of our strategic interests, and we have the availability to work jointly towards fulfilling those interests. And I think that by going to Kyiv, as we did, all of us, yesterday, this was a sign that the European Union is willing to pull its weight in the international geopolitical arena, which is unfortunately a very disturbed one at the moment.
Right, a very disturbed geopolitical arena, as you set out there. And I mean, from what I've heard, and I've heard from yourself just now, and also from other leaders, including from the NATO chief, is there seems to be a resounding unity, right, from European leaders. But I'm worried, Foreign Minister, how concerned you are about the hesitancy, the resistance, perhaps, to further military funding from the US side, where aid for Ukraine remains a thorny issue, let's say, with hardline conservatives. How worried are you?
Well, I think that when the Russians invaded in February 2022, there was a lot of concern about Western unity. Would we be able to hold together? And in the first 2 or 3 months of the war, there were, in fact, various different points of view. But over the course of this war, the contrary has happened. We have come closer together. We have shown much greater cohesion than any of us, I think, imagined at the time. So I think the track record is already a very good signal. Secondly, with respect to elections in the United States, with respect to, of course, the possibility of war fatigue, I don't think that we should discount those possibilities. I think that what it means is simply that we, as politicians, as governments, have to make the case, continue to make the case for supporting the Ukraine. And by and large, in the vast majority of our countries, there is very strong popular support.
Having said that, I do wonder whether you think that this is a sign of fatigue or weakening resolve. And the reason I ask this, because this Republican blockade of Ukraine came the same weekend, I think, as Slovakia, a member of NATO, previously a vocal ally of Ukraine, voted overwhelmingly for a former pro-Russia prime minister. Does this this change that we're seeing in Slovakia, concerns as well about voting elections in Poland, does that concern you at all in terms of aid for Ukraine and support, continued support for Ukraine?
Well, the European Union is composed of 27 democracies, which means that in any given year there are 4 or 5 elections, and we have to consider this as part of the normal circumstances. However, I don't see any change. I don't see any movement in terms of what is the solid position of the European Union. We have, as you pointed out, there is a reference, sometimes Hungary is seen as a country that is supportive of Russia. However, we have had no fewer than 11 packages of sanctions approved unanimously with Hungary on board. We have had 7 measures of support through, with around 500 million euros each, through the European Peace Facility. Again, unanimity is required. And so I think with the new Slovakian government that has not yet even been formed, I don't think we should prejudge. We think that there is a difference between campaign rhetoric and what will be the position of a government that will have to be a coalition government. It's a government that is not going to be homogeneous. It's a government that is going to have different points of view on board. And I don't expect, to be frank, that there will be any significant change to the European Union's position as a whole.
Foreign Minister Cravinho, really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us from Lisbon. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.